yourself sit comfortably. Grab blankets if you want. Sit high as you want. Get your hips feeling good. Stretch your legs out if you'd rather. And then just close your eyes and let yourself start to feel your breath coming in and going out. Okay, I don't know why it's telling me that. Don't tell me that.
We'll just show a cartoon.
Let your eyes close and lengthen up through the top of your head. Feel that space in your spine. And now let your breath come in and go out through your nose. And I know a lot of us are kind of allergied up right now. But just imagine you're breathing equally in and out through both sides of your nose. See if you can, through the next couple of breaths, find those little spaces between your breaths. Just gently start to move forward and back with your breath, letting your exhales bring you forward and your inhales bring you back up. That gentle rocking motion. Does not matter how far you move. Just start to feel yourself coordinating your movement with your breath. Next time you come forward, let yourself stay there. And take your time as you come into your seated forward bend. You know how far you want to go is totally up to you. Keep your back long if you need to. Come farther out over your legs if that feels better. And just release to let your head hang if possible, letting yourself release through your neck. And then come up enough to where you have your hands there to give you support, but you can just shift your shoulders, your torso a little bit from side to side. So you're not moving your hands around, you're letting your hands stay grounded, but you're just able to shift a little bit, coming into one hip and then the other. And then come on back into center. And let's walk ourselves all the way on back up to sitting, releasing our hands on out onto the floor beside us. Let's inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands right down together in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse the arms and inhale the hands up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And now just walk your hands back. Stay up on your fingertips if you can, and the tips of your thumbs. And then draw your chest just a little bit forward and a little bit up so that you find that openness here across the chest. And imagine that you're breathing into your lungs equally from the bottom to the top. One more breath. And then come on back up to sitting nice and tall. Take a nice inhale. And on your exhale, twist to your right. I'm going to mirror you all. So coming on around to the right, let yourself be easy and mindful of feeling that twist in the middle of the back. Feeling your sitting bones drawing down. One more breath here. Now stay in your twist. But as you exhale, turn your head back around to look over your left shoulder. So you just bring the head back out of the twist and look around as far as you can there towards your left. One more breath. And on the exhale, everything is just going to end up right back at center. Just let yourself unwind, head comes back to center. Take a nice inhale once you're at center, and on the exhale, we're going to twist the other way. So coming around, letting that right hand be wherever feels comfortable, maybe on your left knee, maybe at the midline. Find a good place for your fingertips behind you back there. Find that twist in the middle of the back. Sitting bones drawing down. So one more inhale. And again, you're staying in your twist, but as you exhale, you're just turning your head back around to look out over towards over the right shoulder there. So just releasing through the neck. Now still feel your sitting bones drawing down. Zip up your low belly a little bit. One more inhale. And as you exhale, unwind yourself on back around, again into center. And let's inhale the arms up into a wide V. Turn your pinkies towards each other. Maybe even look up a little bit. And as you exhale, let your hands come right down to be in front of your chest, in front of your heart. We are going to switch if we're cross-legged, the cross of our legs. So take your time. If you need to stretch them out in between sides, do. And take your time to get comfortable. If you're crossing legs again, make sure you feel pretty good up into your hips from there. And now bring your hands behind you and just interlace your fingers. Clasp your hands back there. More than likely your hands will almost touch the ground. And then, or touch the ground. And then let yourself start to move forward and back with your breath again. So letting yourself almost feel like your chest leads you forward as you exhale your way forward and inhale your way back up. So again, just moving with the breath here. Good. And the next time that you come back upright, we're going to stay upright again here. And then release your hands. Let the hands come on out to lightly touch the ground. And let's float the arms up straight out from the shoulders into that T position. Flex your hands. Then bend your elbows a little bit. Bring your hands in towards you. And then just press out and see if you can come into straighter arms and allow yourself to feel the undersides of the arms. And I know it can be pretty intense, so be where you can there. And then just let the hands come down so the fingertips face towards the ground. And make a little loose fist with your hands and start to circle them around. So you move into the wrist here with these loose fists. And when you're ready to reverse, let yourself reverse direction with those. Good. And then bringing your hands on down beside you here now. We're going to make our way on around towards our hands and knees. So, if you'd rather have a blanket underneath your knees, use it. Or if you'd rather have your hands in a different position, be mindful of getting comfortable for your own wrists. And just take your time. Maybe you feel like you want to experimentally go into a cat and stay there, or same thing for a cow, and just let yourself ease your way. Maybe even staying a little bit longer in each pose, or maybe sometimes even when you get into a pose, if you like to shift just a little bit forward and back, sometimes that feels really good up into the shoulders and in the hips as well. And you can do that when you're in your cat or your cow, or both, right? So take your time. If you don't like that little shifting, don't do it. Just move your way through your spine at your own pace. Just imagine really a very healthy spine. And think about how this warms up the muscles alongside of your spine here. Moving through our cat-cows. Finish the one you're on. And then come on back to more neutral spine, and let's come out of our hands onto our forearms, and let your forearms be parallel to each other and palms down like you're in Sphinx. And then from there, just shift your hips back a tiny little bit. Let your chest melt down a little towards the floor. I mean, you can put your head down towards the ground, or you can let your head kind of stay in line with your spine. Just let yourself open up there a little more in the upper back. feeling your shoulders as well. Good, and then let's bring ourselves on up to hands and knees again. We're going to step our left foot forward. Have your blocks handy if you'd like, because we're going to keep that back knee down and shift just a little bit forward here to come into opening up through the front of that right thigh. So whatever height you want to be on your blocks. If you'd rather not have your blocks, if you'd rather bring your forearm up to your thigh or your hands up, go right ahead. But just starting to warm up here. Take your time. Let yourself feel pretty good about that front of that right hip there. And then we're going to switch legs. So coming on back and bringing the right foot forward and taking your time now as you start to shift a little bit. You can kind of play around with exactly what you want to do, whether you want to keep your hands on the blocks, or maybe it feels good to stay more forward, maybe it feels good to get a little more upright, but just pay attention to how it feels to you. Feel the top of that back foot gently pressing into the floor. Good. And then we'll come on down with our hands. So we're going to bring the knees back again, and we're going to step the left foot forward, and this time as you shift forward, lift that back knee up. Come on into your lunge there. Take your time, whatever height you want to be. Hands on blocks, any height, or on the floor. And then from there, press the feet gently away from each other. Let yourself feel that inner right heel reaching back, on that diagonal line for the entire length of the back body. And then straighten your left knee out and let yourself lift your toes up on your left foot. And look at your foot, see what you're doing there. Make sure you're not even just slightly shifting to the inside or the outside, but your arch of your foot is lifting up. Lift your foot up if you can now, so you're just on the heel. And then bring the left foot back down and bring the left toes back down and bend the front knee again, coming into that lunge. And we're going to switch legs and go to the other side. So really finding your lunge first. Again, really, if you need to look back at your left foot, do, because you're envisioning that left inner heel reaching directly back, and you find that long diagonal line now through the back of the body. And then press the feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer. And then as you start to straighten that front leg out, look at your right foot. Again, make sure you don't roll, either inside or outside the foot. Arches lifting up. Let your toes lift up now. There are the four corners of your foot into the mat. And then lift your foot up and be on your heel if you can. You don't have to do this part. If you can lift the foot up and be on your heel, do. And then we'll bring the foot back down. Keep the toes up for a second. And then let the toes come back down. And then bend your front knee and come into your full lunge. We're going to step forward from here, coming on into standing forward bend, feet hips distance apart and parallel. Be mindful, if you want to use your blocks, use them. Take your time. Let yourself just enjoy feeling the weight of your head. Good. Let the knees soften if you need to. You know that. If you want to bend your knees, do. Let yourself just enjoy feeling that weight of the torso forward, helping you open up the backs of your legs. And now, walk your hands out in front of you. You may want to use blocks, or you may want to have your hands on the floor. It doesn't matter, but come into a longer back. Your hands are just a little farther out in front of your feet. And then take your left hand and reach it across to the outside of your right ankle. And let yourself just stay with your right hand out in front of you on the block of the floor and come into that little twist there. And from here, let yourself have one more breath here in your Uttanasana. And then we'll let our hands come to our hips, bend our knees, and rise up to standing. We're going to inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts, coming into mountain pose. So take your time. If you need to adjust your feet, do. Let yourself, as you bring your gaze forward, whether your eyes are opened or closed, once you get that alignment now of your pelvis and your gaze, so you feel your head's in a pretty good place, let your hands just barely separate, right? Just a tiny little bit. You still feel the energy coming off your hands, but they're not quite touching. And then slowly reconnect your thumbs and your pinkies, kind of the, the pads of the thumbs and the pinkies together. And then let the outside edges of your palms touch. So it's like you're making a little bowl here with your hands. So now you're like reaching the other fingers, the middle and the pointer and the ring finger, more away from each other. It's like you have a bowl right there in front of your heart. And then on your next exhale, go ahead and reconnect your fingers all back together again. And we'll unfold our arms right on down beside us. And we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, bend our knees, come on forward into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice flat back. And we'll step our right foot back and come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So, adjust your way into your dog. Whatever you need to do, check your hands out. Try to think about getting those pointer fingers about parallel to each other. Really spread your fingers. You might even look at your hands and kind of make them as equal as you can when you look at them, right? How they're spread and everything. Press back out of your hands. Feel your elbows hugging towards each other. Feel the feet pressing gently away from each other like you're trying to make your mat wider. And on the next inhale, we're going to come on out to plank. Nice and strong. Engage your belly. See if you can just stay there for a breath or two. Feeling the core now coming into play. And then bend your elbows a tiny little bit in towards each other. So now you really feel your biceps and your shoulders. And we're going to lower down. So if you want to go ahead and put your knees down first, that's fine. Elbows right by the rib. And we'll come up into Sphinx Pose, bringing ourselves on up to look between our hands. Spread the fingers really wide. Again, you can get a good look at your hands here now. Try to get them evened out. Because sometimes, one hand, the two fingers will be kind of closer together than on the other hand. Try to get them really equal. Really focus on your hands. One more breath here. And then we're going to come down, bring the hands back by the chest, and we're going to come back into down dog, whether you like to come through a half or a full push-up or back to your hands and knees and back to down dog. And walk your dog a little bit now. Turn your head from side to side too. Let it feel kind of easy. Really pressing back out of those hands now, really letting your elbows hug towards each other. Good, and finish off back into your full dog. And we'll bring our right foot forward to come into lunge. And again, you know how to get there, whether you put your knee down or however you need to. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Easy. So in other words, use whatever support you need so you don't feel stress at all in your back. And watch your breath all the way in, all the way out. Find those little spaces again. So when you inhale, feel that little space or pause before you exhale. And the same thing at the end of your exhale. Feel that little space before you inhale again. And let the breaths deepen if possible. Become fairly even in length for your inhales and your exhales. And then from here, we'll let our hands come up to our hips, bend our knees, and rise on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And let's unfold our arms. Bring our hands behind us and clasp them. And let your arms come down fairly long. Don't lock your elbows, but you're pretty long armed here. And when you inhale, bring the hands just a little bit away from you. So you feel that openness across the front of your chest. And then release the hands back to where they're touching you again. And then fold your left forearm onto your low back. Squeeze your right palm in towards your left. Let yourself take a breath there so that you feel engaged into your biceps and your shoulders. And now if you can keep your left arm there, bring your right arm on out and up overhead. And go ahead and bend your elbow. If you want to reach your hands a little towards each other, go for it. You don't have to go into that full pose by any means. You just do what feels good in your shoulders, waking up the shoulders here. Good. And then we're going to stretch the right arm back up. And we're going to come over, think of going up a little higher before you come over just a little bit. So you're really coming into a very small, as far as physical side stretch, but bring your breath into the right ribs here. And then we'll rise on back up, and we're going to lower that right arm down. Bring your hands back together and clasp them in the midline there. And we're going to go the other side by folding the right forearm onto the low back, squeezing the palms towards each other. And really feel your fingers too, right? Feel like the bones of your fingers as you squeeze the fingers towards each other, but also as you squeeze them in both ways, you know, like you're squeezing inward and then also squeezing your palms inward. One more breath there. And then we're going to release, let the left arm come down and bring the arm out and up overhead. And again, when you bend it, this is totally up to you. You know, you may have to have your elbow come out or forward. There's no right or wrong. I know some of you will want to make an attempt to get your hands towards each other on your back. Keep your gaze forward. Let yourself make sure you're not rounding here into the upper back. It's like you're leading a little bit with your heart. And then go ahead and extend that left arm. Let the right arm be comfortable here. Lengthen up and just a tiny little bit over. And breathing into the left side of the body here now. Feel the ribs literally expand when you breathe in. Good. One more breath. And then as we come on back up, we're going to lower that arm on back down, and we're going to bring our hands back together to clasp. Take a nice inhale. And as we exhale, we're going to fold forward from the hips, coming into our Uttanasana. You know you can stay up, parallel to the floor. You can fold over your legs. If you want to release your arms off your back, by all means do. Don't force anything in the shoulders. Now think about your feet for a second. And lift your toes up. Make sure you're not rolling to the outsides of your feet. And then we'll release our arms on down. Let your next inhale lengthen out your spine. And this time left foot comes back to come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into downward facing dog pose. Good. Let your next inhale bring you to plank. Really find your plank there. And then we're going to come back to down dog. So feel like it's your sitting bones that draw you back into that length of the spine. We're going to do that again. Come on out to plank. Really nice and strong. This time bend your elbows a tiny little bit in towards each other. And then reach back into down dog again. Let your hips lead you back there. And this time we're going to come on out to plank. And we're going to lower down however you choose. Elbows right by the rib. Come into either a little cobra where you're off the floor but you're not really pressing all the way up, or maybe it feels good to you to come all the way up into cobra, elbows hugging in. So be mindful how cobra feels for you, opening up through the front of the body. And then from here we're going to come back into down dog. So make your way back into your downward facing dog pose. Walk a little bit again. You can even wag your tail around if you want to. You can let your head turn. Good, and we will bring our left foot forward this time to come into lunge. And we'll make our way back into standing forward bend. So just ease your way, whatever feels good. Hold your elbows, put your hands under your feet if you want to. Let yourself, find a place where it feels really good for you to be. Remember, your knees can be bent in your Uttanasana. And whether your knees are bent or not, just this forward motion of your body being here helps the backs of the legs to open up. One more nice full deep breath. Good. And from there we'll again bring our hands up to our hips, press into our feet, come on up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. From here, we're going to sit back into a little chair pose. Stretch your arms forward, clasp your hands, send your pointer finger out, and just bring your gaze right out over the top of your pointer finger. Elbows are hugging in a little bit. Just feel really easy in your shoulders. If you can shift a little more weight to your heels, do. So you can come a little bit deeper. One more breath. And then from there, we're going to bring our hands to our thighs and find a nice long back parallel to the floor here. So you can have your knees bent still. You can come into straighter legs if you choose. Have that 90-degree angle. One more breath. And then let yourself come on forward into your forward bend. Let your next inhale lengthen your spine. And exhale, right foot back to lunge. Moving with the breath. Inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog. Let your inhale bring you to plank. And let your exhale lower you. And let your inhale bring you into your cobra choice. Exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, right foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising all the way up to the top with your breath. And let your exhale carry you forward. Inhale, nice long back. And exhale, left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your down dog. Inhale your way out to plank. And let your exhale bring you down. And inhale into your cobra. And exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, left foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising all the way up to the top with your breath. And on the exhale, we'll come forward. Inhale, nice long back. We're going to find our way into down dog, however you want to get there. So make your way into dog. Wag your tail around a little bit if you want. Hug your elbows towards each other. Be aware of your hands again. You know, if you need to kind of glance at them to make sure, again, you're trying to be really equal. And then just let your breath settle you down a little bit. Feel the breath coming into the back body. Good. From here, we'll bring our feet just a little closer together. Lift our left leg up in the air into a three-legged dog. And now, we're going to come forward like we're doing plank. We're bringing the leg down and the knee in towards the chest. And then as we inhale, we're going to come back to that three-legged dog. So again, letting yourself come forward in towards that plank. And then inhale, stretch back. And then one more time, letting yourself come into that plank. And bringing yourself back to the three legs. And we're going to bring that left foot forward for warrior two now. So grab your blocks if you need them. Have them handy. Get your feet lined up. Get that front knee lined up. And feel really good here. So see if you can. Kind of let yourself just lift your shoulders a little bit. You can roll them around or you can just lift them a little bit up and down. Let your shoulders release. And then finally just let them really soften down, right? Put the tips of your fingers on your tops of your shoulders. Let yourself feel this energy of releasing all the way down the sides of the neck and through the tops of your shoulders there. Good, and then turn to look to the left. Let yourself just be really easy as you feel that right shoulder reaching back, and you can turn to look out over your left. You can actually, with peripheral vision, look down and see your left hand, right? And then from there, unfold your arms. Let the palms turn down towards your thighs, and then float your arms on up. Feeling really soft here through the tops of the shoulders. Feel the feet equal in the floor. Enjoy feeling the feet pressing away from each other, coming into your hips, energy out through your fingertips. We're going to turn the left palm up and inhale, reach up towards the sky. And now, just for right now, bring your left hand down to your thigh. Come into your side angle higher. Let your right arm swing up into line, into your side angle. And then come on back again into your warrior two. So one more of those. Turn the palm up with the left hand. Inhale, reaching up or back. And on the exhale, hand on the thigh, swinging the right arm on forward and up. And then letting the right arm bring you back again into warrior two. Turning that left palm up, we're going to inhale, reach up. This time you go as low as you want to go. Go into your side angle pose, wherever you choose, and then bringing that right arm on up. And letting yourself take your time, lengthen out through both sides of the body. Feel that outer left hip drawing back and feel energy out through the right fingertips. And try this if you can. Stay in the pose, but let the right arm come straight up like you're in triangle. And then let it keep descending down towards your right leg. Circle the right arm in front of your chest. And then bring it up into line if you can, into the right side of the body. Good. We're going to come back to Warrior Two from here. Press those feet away from each other as you come. And then we'll bring our hands down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel so you can adjust for your wide-legged forward bend. And of course, if you'd like to have blocks, you can grab your blocks. So let yourself come on forward, whether your hands are on blocks or the floor. And go ahead and move a little bit, however you need. If you like the bending in the knee, one at a time. Obviously, if it bothers your knees, don't do it. Good. And then from there, rotate to turn your feet out a little bit. Bend both your knees like you're in goddess, right? Let yourself just stay there for a breath. And then let that left leg straighten. Let your right knee stay bent with the feet turned out, right? There's a different feeling there, that's for sure. And then just shift to the other side. Bend your left knee, let your right leg stay straight. And you can do that a couple more times. If you like going lower, by all means, go for it. You know, you can let yourself lift a foot off the floor to be on your heel and shift your hips down if you like. Not necessary to do those. That's only if it feels okay in your knees and your hips. Good. And then finish off so that you can come back to center. We're going to go ahead and rotate so our feet are more parallel again. So go ahead and get yourself comfortable there. And now set yourself up to be in the pose. And I mean, if you'd like to try something different, try something different. If you feel like, well, I haven't put my head on a block in a long time, or I haven't held my ankles in a while, or, you know, putting your hands up on your low back, letting yourself release that way with the arms coming off the back if that's comfortable. Or, of course, using any support you need. And being with your breath. So again, find those little spaces. And let yourself imagine you just relax a little deeper in those little brief spaces between your breaths. Good. One more breath. And from here, we're going to walk ourselves back towards that left foot to come on back into lunge. And we'll make our way then back into downward facing dog pose. Once you're in your dog, walk a little bit, get yourself adjusted. And then let's all come out to plank. And if you want to come into an up dog without putting your knees down, see if you can. And if not, don't do it. You can put your knees down, go to the tops of the feet if you'd rather. And then we'll come on back again into down dog. And then we're going to come out to plank again. Let's do a little side plank work. So you can either put your left knee down and use that as your little kickstand back there to rise yourself on up into side plank, or you can do a full one. Do what feels good to you. Good. And then we're just going to switch sides. Come into the other side. And, you know, adjust however you need. Do whatever you need. If you know planks don't work, go to your forearms if you'd rather. Go to a side forearm plank a little bit. And then we'll come on back, and let's make our way back to down dog. So actually, see if you can just walk your feet like you're walking up towards your hands, but don't go all the way. Just come a little bit like you're walking up in, and then walk yourself back again into your full down dog. And then once you're in your full, length of your dog there, walk your feet sideways like they're going towards the corner sides of your mat, right? Stay there for a breath. Really press back with your feet wide like that. Hug your elbows towards each other. Good. And then bring your feet on back. And from here, we're going to bring our right leg up in the air for a three-legged dog. So take your time. Really find that 3 legs there. And then as you inhale, come out to that plank, bringing that knee in towards the chest. And then reach back again into that long 3 legs. Again, coming on out into that plank. And back into the 3 legs. And just one more time, let it flow in and let it flow back. And this time we'll bring the right foot forward. We're coming up for warrior two. So again, get lined up with your heels. Let yourself really get comfortable in the length of your stance, the bend of the front knee. And then again, bring your awareness to here, right? So it's sort of like feel from here all the way down the sides of the neck, all the way to the tops of the shoulders. When your elbows melt down, you can feel totally relaxed in your shoulders. Turn your gaze to look like to the right. But remember, try not to let your left shoulder come around, so there's a bit of a twist in a warrior two pose. And then just softly unfold your arms down. Turn your palms down towards your thighs, and then float them on up. And really feel floaty, right? Getting as high as you want. Reaching out through the fingertips now, really softening the shoulders down. And pressing the feet gently away from each other. Good. One more breath. And then we'll turn the right palm up. We're going to inhale and reach up. And remember, as we move through this, bring your right hand down to your right thigh for side angle. Swing the left arm on up. And then let the left arm bring you all the way back into warrior two. And turning that right palm up again. Inhale, reach up, maybe a little further back. And on the exhale, bring the hand to the thigh. Swing that arm on up into that long line. And then let the left arm carry you back again. And one more time. Inhaling, reaching up and back. And on the exhale, go as low as you want this time. Forearm to the thigh or hand to the thigh is fine still. You can bring your hand to the floor if you want. Now really lengthen out through both sides of your body. Press into that bottom hand or forearm, whatever it is that's supporting you. Let yourself draw your outer right hip back. And then bring your left arm up like you're doing a triangle. We're going to make that big circle. It's going to come down towards your left leg. And then it's going to circle in front of your chest real easily and come back into line. Beautiful. We're going to come back to warrior two from here. Pressing those feet away from each other as we come. And then we're going to bring our hands down and turn our feet more parallel. Before you come forward, clasp your hands, right? Take your time. And for a second, bend your elbows enough to squeeze your palms towards each other too, right? So instead of keeping the palms away, really, really feel those palms squeezing, feel the fingers squeezing inward. And then go ahead and bend your knees and start to come on forward. Now, you may decide to stay up pretty high. And you may go, I'd like to fold all the way, but it's not a good idea for me. So don't do it if it's not. If you want to fold, top of the head towards the ceiling, you can try releasing your hands off your back with your palms together, which is a very different experience than having your palms apart, right? So just try it, and if you're like, I don't like that, don't do it. If it hurts your shoulders. So release your hands back to your back for a second. Let them come on down. And let's walk over towards our right foot or shift our block a little bit towards the right, whichever works. And just stay here for a couple of breaths. Feeling, letting the legs adjust. Good. And then walk back through center. And we'll go towards the left. And again, you can be on blocks. You can be in front of your foot. You can hold on to the outside of the ankle if you want, whatever feels good. And just breathe. And then we're going to walk back into center. And go ahead, if you need to move around a little bit more before you set yourself up to be with your breath, do it. And you can decide whether allowing yourself to come with your hands more between your legs sounds like a good idea to you. It may not, right? Use support however you need. Keep your back long if you need. And go to your breath. If you're familiar and comfortable with Ujjayi breathing, feeling the breath coming through the throat, you're more than welcome. You know that any time in class to come into Ujjayi breaths. One more nice full breath. walk ourselves back over towards that right foot. So be mindful as you come on back into your lunge and make your way back into your downward facing dog pose. Walk to the tops of the feet a couple of times. You can let yourself stretch out your feet. Good. And then you're on your own. If you like to do vinyasas or kriyas, if you'd rather put your knees down and rest, if you want to move a little more quickly or a little more slowly, just take your time and do what the body is sort of asking you to do, right? Instead of making yourself go through something that you don't feel comfortable doing. Good. And then finish off. We're going to meet back in downward facing dog pose. And this time we're going to bring our left foot forward for warrior one. Now try to get your feet set. So try to lower that back right heel down before you rise up. And you might need your blocks handy, which I think most of you have. Once you bring yourself on up and you let your hands come to your heart, if you're not quite in the right stance for you, adjust, right? And now, just imagine as you start to lean forward that you're going to make a long line down the back of your body. So we're not collapsing. In fact, you're really feeling your left thigh quite a bit here as you just let your torso come in line with that back leg. And then rise yourself on, back up, bringing your gaze forward. Inhale your hands up through the midline and then bring the hands clasped at the back of your head. Hug your elbows in a little bit. And then see if the elbows can lift up so the back of the head is just gently released into your hands. It's like you're holding your heavy head up. And if you like to widen your elbows out, you can. If it feels better to keep the elbows inward towards your face, do. It depends on your shoulders. Feel that openness here through the front of the body. And then extend your arms up. Keep the hands clasped if you can. If you need to separate them, do. Hug your elbows towards each other. Let that pointer finger reach up. Feel the energy all the way up into your hands and really, especially feeling that sense of how you have your hands right now. One more breath. And then bring your gaze forward. Release your arms on down. Bring your hands behind you. Clasp them. And as we exhale, we're going to bow forward over that front leg. Now, maybe not very low. Maybe you want to stay up higher. Maybe you feel like, oh, I really want to bow all the way over. And some of you may want to release your arms off your back here. So if that's possible, you don't need to. You can if you want. And then we'll let our hands release down. We're going to find lunge here. You're going to add a twist, so you kind of set yourself up for the kind of twist you want to do, whether it's twisted prayer or keeping your right hand on the floor of the block and bringing your left hand up to your hip. Stretching the arm up if you want. Remember, this isn't always doable for shoulders. So take your time. Reach out through the top of your head and think of really reaching back through that inner right heel. Beautiful. One more breath. And then we'll come on back into lunge and we'll make our way back to down dog. So again, do what feels good immediately, really, right? And so just trust that your body, when you come back to doing this, kind of knows what it wants to do. And there's not any right or wrong, you know. Put your knees down if you need to. Open your hips if you need to. You know, come into vinyasas or kriyas if you want to. Good. We're going to finish off and meet back in down dog. So this time, right foot comes forward. Remember, we're headed for warrior one, so try before you even lift up, try to get that back foot where you think, okay, that feels pretty good. So that when you rise up, you let your hands come to your heart, you feel your shoulders over your hips, you feel very balanced. And if you don't, adjust, right? If you need to adjust your back foot, if you need to adjust, make sure you're not bending that front knee out beyond your toes. Good. And then again, when you think about leaning forward, really feel your belly. Immediately, when you start to think about coming forward and making a long line down the back of your body, your belly just fires up. But not to mention, you're going to feel your right quad pretty good here. One more breath. And then come on back. So you have your shoulders again up over your hips. And we'll inhale the hands up through the midline. Now clasp them and put them behind your head again. Press the head a little bit into your hands. Hug your elbows in. And then think about the elbows going up a little higher. It doesn't have to be much, right? But if you can just feel the head coming into your hands and feel that engagement through the core of your body. If you like to widen your elbows out, you can. If you'd rather keep the elbows in closer towards your face, do. Good. Feel that openness in the front of your left hip too. So much going on. And then when you get ready to extend your arms up, you can separate your hands if you need to. If you can do the mudra of clasping your fingers together and putting the pointer fingers straight up, do. And then just feel in the pose. Let the pose do it for you. Just watch your breath. Inhaling up the front of the body, exhaling down the back of your body. And then bring your gaze on forward. Release your arms out and down and behind you to clasp them. And again, you may just want to bow a little bit forward. Totally up to you. You can stay up fairly high, kind of look down at the floor. You can fold forward over that inner thigh. And again, if the arms want to come off the back, you can let that happen. If not, don't worry about it. Just let yourself be where it feels doable. And then we'll release our hands down. We're going to find lunge. So remember, to set up for that twist, it's up to you whether you want to bring your left elbow across to that right knee or keep your left hand down and bring your right hand on up into twist. Whether you decide to add that arm if you have your hand down is up to you. So enjoy. One more breath. And then we're going to release and come on down, and we're going to make our way back to down dog. Last vinyasas or kriyas, if you want to do any more, now's the time to do them. If you'd rather put your knees down, do it. If you'd rather open your hips, really find what works for you. Good. Good. Even yourself out if you need to, because we're going to meet back in down dog. And then from here, we're going to bend our knees really deeply. Think about your belly coming to your thighs. Really send your hips back. Hug your elbows towards each other. And we're going to come forward however you want, jumping or walking or stepping your way towards the front of your mat. Come into your Uttanasana, however feels good. Feel the feet in the floor. Remember, think about letting those arches lift up, the four corners of the feet, reaching down. And then we'll bring our hands on up to our hips, rising up to standing, and inhale our arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, letting our hands come down, but letting our head float up higher. So now, really appreciate the lightness in your head. Feeling the energy flowing through the body, letting your hands gently be together. It's like you just completed a connection, and it's so easy to stand here. You're kind of plugged in with your feet, plugged in with your hands. And then we'll go ahead and release our arms on down beside us and move around a little bit, shake it out. We're going to bring our mats into a wall. And we have room, so you three over here. Charlotte, you can come up here if you want to.
Shake it up, boss. Shake it out.
Good, so, okay, I don't know how this got turned sideways. I don't know how to fix it. I'm serious, it's like this way now. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to fix it. Oh, well.
I can't see it, but.
Well, I don't know how to make it flip because it's already recording.
Pull down your,
Do what?
pull down your options and then
pull down my options.
Yeah, like pull down from that corner if it's that. Oh, yours looks different.
Everything's always different. Okay, it's okay.
We could just do some.
Yeah, everybody will just have to be upside down or, oh, you're over there. Okay, grab your blocks. Sorry, Sharman's trying to help me because this is showing me like the wrong direction. Okay, we're gonna do a little half moon. Grab your blocks. Bring your right foot back to the wall. Get yourself up to the highest height on your blocks, okay? Just so you really, at first, as you start to turn that foot away from the floor, just so you're really up a little bit. You may even want to come to your fingertips, right? So that when you do shift to that left hand and you can press into the wall back there with that foot and you draw your right shoulder up, you're already up pretty high. Like if you wanted to think about bringing your left hand off the block to your heart, you might do it, right? As you press into that foot, if you want to stretch your right arm up, straight up from your shoulder, do. And if you don't want any part of lifting that bottom hand up, don't do it, right? Be where you can. Let yourself enjoy that wonderful hip opener, the wonderful length through your spine. And then we're going to come on down with that right hand, and we're going to switch. Left leg immediately goes up. It'll feel like a huge relief. Get that right foot parallel to the long edge of your mat. Press into that left foot back there. And again, if you bring your left hand up, if you feel like trying to let your right hand float up briefly, you can, right? You can decide not to do that. Put the hand down. You can stretch that left arm up, bringing your gaze to the side if you can. Good. And then let yourself release and come on down and let yourself walk back to the wall. Put your knees down and let the tips of the toes touch the wall back here. Bring your blocks back with you, all right? If you can sit on your heels for a second, do. If not, if that bothers your knees, don't do it. Because we're all going to come up to our knees, all right? And now from here, see if you can just put your hands palm in towards your low back and bring your chest forward. Come into a little camel here. I mean, that's why I say keep your blocks. Some of you might want to reach back and put your hands on your blocks. Some of you might go, I just want to reach my heels. You know, just let yourself open through the front of your body. Do your version of camel that's okay for your back. Take your time. And then we're going to come on back up. We're going to come towards child's pose. So let your knees separate. Your big toes go together. Shift back. Let it feel good. Reach your arms overhead. Good. And now, let your arms come long. We're going to come up to a down dog with our heels up the wall. So if you know you cannot be on your hands at all, go ahead and go right to your forearms. But if you can briefly do some little work towards handstand, go ahead and come back to your dog. Reaching back, bend your knees if you need to, you know. And you can stretch a leg up the wall if you want. Curling the toes under, letting yourself keep pressing back out of your hands. You can always switch whenever you want. You don't have to wait, you know that. You can switch, you can come down and rest. So be mindful about what feels okay for you. And if you need to come down and switch to your forearms rather than being in your hands, go for it. And if you're like, I don't really want to do any of these, then just stop and rest in child's pose if you need. Take your time. Let yourself enjoy whatever you need to do now, and feel free to come up and down, rest when you want, and then go back up again if you choose. And of course, if you want to turn around and work on a handstand that way, kicking up, or a forearm stand, you know you're welcome to do that. So just play with your own inversion, whatever feels good for you today, and just a little bit of being upside down Changing perspective is a great thing. Wakes up the sinuses too. Good. So if you're finishing, let yourself finish off and rest however you need to rest, okay? And we're going to head towards a pigeon pose here. Now I know, full pigeon, bringing your left knee in, if you're doing full pigeon, towards the front corner of your mat. But if this is too much and you know it, don't do it. Lay on your back and do a figure 4. Bring a blanket, if that helps you, to put underneath your left hip here so that it's not like hovering in the air, right? And get adjusted there so that that back right leg is directly behind you. You can always curl the toes under and lift the knee up, look back, and then let the knee come on back down. And you can press your way up for a breath or two if you're okay to do that, opening up through the front of the right hip there. Good. That knee is angled towards the corner of your mat. Good. And then coming forward. And you may want to get a block, right? You can put a block underneath your forearms or your head or both. You can let yourself fold forward if you want to, make a little pillow with your hands or use a blanket. Just be mindful. Really enjoy feeling that release through the left hip. Now, if any of you want a little more, you can come up enough to thread the needle with your right arm through, and you can come down either putting your left hand under your head there, under the right side of your head, or not. Don't do this twist if it's too much. Let yourself stay centered. And then we're going to come on back, and let's all come onto our forearms, and then bend that right knee. And you don't have to bend it deeply, right? If you just bend the knee and flex the foot, there's your quad. That might be all you need to do, right? If you like to come up higher, you can get your hands there on the floor so you're up higher. That brings even more into the front of the hip. Or you can reach back with your right hand and get hold of the top of the foot or the ankle and press the foot into your hand. If you like to reach that front hand forward, you can. You don't need to. The blanket helps a lot with that. So because the blanket makes you stay level, it evens you out so that reaching that hand forward is more fun. And then we're going to come on down, and we're going to switch legs however you need to do that. If you need to do a child's pose between sides, do it. If you need to do a down dog, if you somehow need to even yourself out before you bring that right knee forward. And again, it's the bent leg side that a blanket might benefit you, right? And if it's hurting, don't do it. Come onto your back and do a figure 4 stretch, right? So this is intense in the knees, right? This angle of the knee is important. Again, you can lift up, let yourself try to find a little more in the front of that left hip. And then again, as you come forward, this is up to you. Use blocks if you want. Let yourself stay on your forearms if that feels better. Or rest your head on your hands if you want to. But see if you can at least really release your neck. Let your face go. And again, for those of you who want a little more, if you come up enough to thread the needle with your left arm through, you can come either again, resting your head on the floor, the left side of your head, or on your hand. You can kind of play with that right arm too. Sometimes reaching it overhead feels good, or putting it up on your low back. I forgot to say all that on the other side. Just be mindful. Don't do this twist if it's too much. Feel the low back rising as you inhale. And now we're going to come on back into center onto our forearms again, remember. So just let yourself easily be there. And bend your left knee, maybe just a little bit. No, don't force it. Totally up to you if you want to come up higher or if you want to stay right there on your forearms, because you're getting into your front of your thigh here and into your front of your hip. So take your time. If you want to reach back, do. It's totally up to you, letting yourself be where you can. Nice. And from here, we're going to release, and we're just going to swing our legs on around in front of us. So let yourself bring your legs on in front of you. And for a second, bend your knees. Let your hands come behind you and turn your fingers back towards the wall behind you. And then just let your chest lift up and forward a little bit. Let your hips and low back release like this. You can look up if you want. You can bring your gaze forward if you want. Don't do anything that makes your neck feel uncomfortable. Good. And then we're going to come on back. We're going to hold behind our thighs. And make sure there's nothing behind you. Get far enough forward on your mat so when you lie down, you're not going to bang into the wall. And then walk your feet on back and come on into a little boat pose. Lift the feet up. Let the big toe mounds press together there as you flex your feet. And then look at your feet. At first, put your heels together too, your inner heels, and see what that does to the outside edges of your feet. And then separate the heels just a little bit, and maybe you feel a little more parallel at the outside edges of your feet. And then let your hands release if you can. Totally up to you. You can stretch legs long. You can hold on to your legs if you want to. You can put your hands on the outside of your legs if that feels good. Don't do any of it if it's too much in your back. And then bend the knees again. And now from here, see if you can let your torso come down a little bit. Hold onto your legs. Let them come a little more away from you. And now really hollow out your belly. So pull your navel towards your spine and your tailbone curls up. Just for one breath. And now you can either go right down to the floor however you want, or you can extend longer for a couple of breaths. And then you can come down. And then we're going to bring our knees, right knee in towards our chest, and let ourselves feel the leg coming into our hands a little bit. But just pull it in at first, so your low back collapses to the floor. And then let the leg press back into your hands a little bit. So now that natural curve is back in your low back. And we're going to switch legs. Bringing the left knee in, extend the right leg down long. And at first, pull the leg in so your low back really collapses into the ground. It just brings a little relief there. And then the opposite. Push your leg back into your hands and feel how the back adjusts. You get that natural curve in your low back. And then bring both knees into your chest. And send your feet up in the air for a little happy baby. Does not matter whether you want to hold your feet or behind your legs. If you like to roll from side to side on your low back to get release more there, do. And then bring your hands to the outside of your legs so that you can stretch into a wide angle, right? So you can almost this varies for everybody. You can keep your legs bent. You can have your hands like they're stands, like you've got your upper arms on the floor and your elbows, but your hands support your legs, and you can almost just relax there. Or you can let your legs hang in space, right? If that feels good to you to release your inner thighs, you can just let the legs hang in space. If you feel better to put a little support, do it. Good. And then from there, we're going to bring our legs on back up in the air. Bring your knees in towards your chest. Now, if you can, curl up into a little ball. If that doesn't feel good, don't do it. But if you can bring your face in towards your knees, do. And then release down. Stretch your arms out into a T position. And bring your feet to the floor. And you can let your feet widen out for these double knee twists, or you can let your feet stay closer together. So you're going to let your knees go side to side at your own pace, right? And you can stay on one side. I know some of you like to come to one side and just stay there. If you go to the right side, you might want to pick your right foot up and put it on the outside of your left knee there to give a little more weight, you know, a little more release, so that if your knees are to the right and that right foot picks up, it just kind of gives a little more way to open through the front of the left hip. The same thing if you go to the left, it's the left foot that picks up, and then you just rest the outside of the foot right there above the outside of the right knee. Totally up to you. You know, you don't need to do those. And if there's something else that sounds like the best idea ever right now, do it, whatever that might be. Take your time to let your body do whatever adjusting it needs right now, whatever pose or movement is going to help you feel better. I'm going to start to get lights, and then I will be happy to bring anything that sounds good to you for support. Anything that's going to help you to be able to relax a little easier. Blankets, bolsters. So if you would like to have some support, you don't want to lie down because you feel like it's not the best thing for you, you know, you can use the wall to support you and sit up. And if you're also uncomfortable, you can always try on lying on your side if you're on the floor. So just let yourself relax. Really just watching the breath. And watching the breath is really just the easiest way to let your body relax. Because otherwise, if you think about forcing yourself to relax, it really doesn't work, does it? So just start to watch and be with your breath. In and out. Feeling the movement as you actually inhale and exhale of your body, but the movement will get smaller and smaller because your breaths naturally want to quiet down and become more shallow. And your mind will keep wandering off, but just keep coming back to your breath over and over again. Give yourself just, it's like a gift, these few minutes to allow yourself to completely and fully relax. and your toes might feel at first like wiggling around, your hands, your feet. You know, just come into moving the way that feels natural, comfortable, stretching or bending, taking your time. You know, you're welcome to stay right there on your back, feel cradled by the ground a little bit longer, or roll to either your right or your left side with your knees soft, if that's comfortable, to give your body and your brain a little adjustment time. Just when you do feel like, okay, I'm ready to come back into sitting again, let yourself float your way up so that you can stay relaxed as you can. Start to get the most comfortable way for you to sit so that you can easily come on back up to get your head above your heart. Eyes closing if they opened on the way up. Letting yourself enjoy finding all that space in your spine again and feeling the lightness of your head. Coming back to your breath. On your next exhale, let your hands come gently to meet there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.
Happy Friday. And we're getting closer, so I do need to ask you guys. Next week,